Right, so the chat's all done, and of course there's a few interesting things for us to go over. So, this is going to just be a Cliff Notes version of the Fireside chat. For anyone interested in just a quick summary though, the Magic 30th Anniversary Edition was only mentioned once and quite sparingly. Other than that, their main focus is on the acquisition of new players and the reacquisition of old players, not supporting the current player base. They also made a point of emphasizing that they do not have any direct connection to the secondary market and therefore will continue to print and reprint products to a supply demand, with their favorite case point being the Warhammer 40k decks, which are currently on their third reprint. That aside, I'm just going to highlight a few of the things said and then give some of my own commentary.
Chris, why don't we start with you?
The pivot on the strategy are in a couple areas. First off, we're shifting from a bit more of a breadth strategy with our old strategy to be more focused on depth strategy.
What? Sorry, I had to leave that in. How much do you reckon he practiced that sentence or that string of strategy? But yeah, so for the first 3 minutes, he just reiterates everything they outlined in their previous quarter report, really doubling down on their new approach and their Blueprint 2.0, which focuses on fewer brands but making them bigger.
Fantastic. That was great for opening, Chris.
We know a lot about our players. Multiple times a year, we survey tens of thousands of Magic fans on a variety of topics.
So, first off, MTG Arena alone has an estimated 7 million people playing monthly. Their survey is a vast minority.
The Magic active tabletop player on average is 30 years old. Players range from about 13 years old to over 45. I think it's important to know that 1/3 of our players have less than 3 years of experience with the game, and another third has been playing for more than 10 years.
So this is a very important point to remember, because they do emphasize later on that they want to continue to capture new players, so 1/3 of their current player base, but also they want to reacquire old players who have left the game. They do not talk about supporting the long-term player base, that 1/3 that have been playing for more than 10 years.
We've seen growth in casual players, who we estimate represent about 80% of the player base, with the competitive player representing the remaining. And this single insight has really led to a major rethinking of our offering and how to serve our growing and more diverse player base.
And we've been able to do it across a wide set of products, a wide set of segments that have made the business healthier than ever. And we've been able to do it in a fairly balanced way, where we've been able to balance new player growth with lapsed player reacquisition, because there's probably like close to 60 million people in the world who have ever played Magic. So actually people coming back to Magic is just as important to us as new players who've never played it before, as well as driving a little bit of revenue growth per user through that segmentation approach, which has been good for us, and it's been good for our channel partners, whether that's hobby stores, mass stores, or e-commerce partners like Amazon.
Sorry, Chris. What was that last word? You kind of went a bit soft there.
I'd love to talk a little bit about our plans to continue to grow Magic, especially in 2023 and beyond. And I will say we do have some good tailwinds that are aiding us. Primarily that we are seeing this bold return to in-person play. Magic really thrives on that face-to-face interaction that wasn't able to happen during the pandemic. Our in-store play participation numbers are trending up, and they're already back to about 75% of where they were pre-pandemic.
So they're trending now after a couple years of horrible numbers where people couldn't participate, and they are also still 25% under the previous participation amounts. Yet this is a good showing that your in-person play is returning to form.
We recently organized the largest ever in-person event in Magic's history. We had over 10,000 players gather in person in Las Vegas to kick off our 30th anniversary celebration. It was such an encouraging and fun fan event. And we plan on having 4 more of those Magic Cons next year.
So were the tournaments you axed. Yet, you're in a better mood to host these gatherings when you can shill products and merchandise.
With our new player acquisition strategy focused on the Universes Beyond line. This year we have The Lord of the Rings as a big tentpole release. And we also have smaller sets like Doctor Who that will attract in new players.
So more crap in our Magic just to attract a few other fan bases and get a little bit of their money in the short term. Great.
In future years, you'll see us do the same with Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed, which will join the franchise. And of course, we'll be celebrating Magic's 30th anniversary with our fans. The Magic Cons I mentioned, we'll be releasing new products, and we're especially excited to help our trade partners and our fans by offering exclusive promo cards from each year of Magic that will be available exclusively through our Wizards Play Network stores with every tentpole set release.
So a few key things were said there. First off, they're not done celebrating 30th anniversary, so you could probably expect to see some more handouts of Magic 30th Anniversary Edition at those conventions. They have also stated that they are going to create promos from every set and year of Magic the Gathering. This is going to be very interesting because it could be easily coupled with more remastered sets or reprints of older products.
You know, Magic is bigger than it's ever been. It's on pace to become Hasbro's first billion-dollar brand. Our hybrid players are the most engaged and they spend the most. So our efforts around Magic Digital will drive increased play and integration across both tabletop and our digital platforms. You know, Wizards Play Network stores are telling us that they see new players coming into their store who are ready to join that community after they learn to play Magic on Arena. So Magic the Gathering Arena has been a great success for us, but it still has room to grow as we continue to invest to meet the needs of that wide range of players. So in 2023, Arena will refactor our new player experience to improve onboarding for new players and help them quickly find the play experiences that appeal to them the most. This will reinforce our acquisition efforts and maximize the impact of our launch on Steam, which is the biggest gaming platform in the world outside of mobile.
Inflation has been top of mind for investors, and ability to take on pricing also has been important. And we have seen kind of more traditional toy sector take on pricing throughout the pandemic, really. But as I think about kind of price elasticity of demand for Magic, in my mind at least, that is an overall less price elastic customer versus a kind of more traditional toy consumer.
The straight answer to your question is yes, it tends to be a less price elastic customer, but obviously there's logical limits to that. We're very aware across our business of the pressures that the general consumer is under and the general discretionary pressure, the discretionary sector is under vis-a-vis inflation.
Yet a $1,000 tiny box was the right decision to celebrate the 30th anniversary milestone.
I don't think it's about raising prices on Magic cards or raising prices on Magic packs. At the end of the day, it's about growing our player base, and it's about leaning into our segmentation strategy and adding products that our players want and have a lot of play value and collector's value.
Great, and that's actually a good segue to my question for Cynthia, which is, if it isn't price, are you releasing then more product each year? Could you sort of go through pillars of growth?
Our growth is coming from both our customer and product segmentation strategy, which is backed by a lot of the data and insights into Magic's different fan bases. But if I were summarizing it, I'd say our growth has come from monetizing more player segments and not just from increasing the spend of the same core set of players. And our product release schedule really reflects that.
So unfortunately, this is a really disappointing statement because it's a clear outline that they're just not interested in creating products that are suited towards the player base. They would rather take your money and then move on to a new player and a new theme that attracts that audience.
I have a follow-up for you. There has been this claim that you're printing too many cards. What is your one sentence answer to that, or maybe 2 sentences, whatever you prefer?
I'm going to go a little more than 2 sentences.
Yeah, I would love that.
Most of our Magic releases and our SKUs are print to demand. And this means that we print and reprint products in a set to support players and customers who want to buy it, usually to play with it. And after an initial sell-in period prior to the launch of a set, all reorders after that set reflect real demand. And our average post-launch sales quantities for our tentpole premiere sets remains unchanged in 2022 compared to 2021. In aggregate, there is no evidence that Magic is overprinted. And the sentiment of Magic needs to cut print runs to support prices, that's a misunderstanding of our business and our customers.
So I'll give them the business aspect of that. It's their company to run how they want, but you cannot state that your customers telling you we think something is overprinted is a poor reflection of your customers. We're the ones indicating that we do not like your current direction. We do not like the fact that everything is printed to demand to a high volume that crashes the secondary market. We want a collectible card game.
You know, if our prices for a print to demand product rise significantly soon after launch, well, that simply means that we're not adequately meeting customer demand, and we are making millions of players unhappy at their lack of ability to acquire the cards they want to play.
This is a very fine line to walk. Yes, it's definitely a great thing to make your product more available to the consumers that want the product. The issue is a lot of the products that are in high demand are in high demand because they are deemed collectible. And as soon as you start reprinting them, that collectability is obviously diminished. What Hasbro is trying to do is siphon away the value the secondary market has attached to these products through reprinting. The issue here is anyone who actually desires the single cards to play with will often go out and buy just the single cards they want. They're not interested in the products from Hasbro, yet Hasbro is trying to essentially reacquire that market share through reprinting the product as a whole.
What is the primary way you're getting Magic product into players' hands, and how that has changed versus 5 years ago?
Sure. Our partnership with the more than 6,000 global Wizards Play Network hobby stores, that is the core sales channel for our business. It accounts for up to 70% of our sales in 22 year to date. And we are really delighted that we can support those passionate local small business owners. And we collected feedback this year from more than 2,200 of them. It's a large representative sample, and it gives us a really good pulse on their health.
I didn't realize large majority sample meant 36%. I'm pretty sure it's at least definitely over 50% and usually much higher.
And we're pleased to see that this channel continues to grow, has strong performance. More than 80% of our stores reported that they are growing or equal to last year, and over 60% report growth in their business.
So let's do some math, shall we? You started off saying 6,000 stores. In fact, there could be more because you say more than 6,000 stores. You then got 2,200 of them to report in. That's 36% of all your stores. From that, 80% are happy. So overall, 30% of all 6,000 stores have reported that they're happy, and 60% of them have reported growth. Again, we do the math, that's 22% of the overall stores. So this is a perfect example of how people can twist statistics to present a positive argument for their case.
Now, over the last 5 years, we've continued to evolve our omni-channel retail strategy. That involves continuing to expand our footprint at retail globally, e-commerce, as well as developing our direct-to-consumer collectible offering.
So now you end a segment talking about how your local stores are one of your best channels with we're continuing to grow our direct-to-consumer collectibles.
Fantastic. Cynthia, maybe this is still for you. there has been some chatter, kind of secondary market for these cards, and that values are coming down because you're printing too much. Is that something that you keep track of? Is that something that concerns you?
Finally, a question we actually want to hear. Too bad the answer is going to be crap.
First and foremost, Magic is a deep and strategic game that is played in hobby stores, on kitchen tables, and online. So our goal is to continue to grow that player base. And as I said previously, we print and reprint products to meet demand from our players. Magic will be our first billion-dollar brand this year, and we're growing that brand ahead of the industry and pushing the boundaries of where we can take the product. More often than not, we get that right, like our Universes Beyond product, Warhammer 40K, which is already on its third reprint due to demand. And sometimes we step back and we listen to customer feedback, like we did on our recent 30th anniversary edition, where we scaled back the expected supply to assure a great collector experience.
Sorry, just one more time.
And sometimes we step back and we listen to customer feedback, like we did on our recent 30th anniversary edition, where we scaled back the expected supply to assure a great collector experience.
Did they listen to feedback? They ensure a great collector experience? So they just had to tack it on and just move swiftly through it. At least they mentioned it. It's obviously no admission of guilt. They took a step back, they listened to our feedback, and reduced the print size of 30th anniversary edition. Boy oh boy, if that's true, could you imagine how much they estimated to actually sell of it? Still though, this was the main thing everyone was interested in hearing, what they had to say about Magic 30th anniversary edition. So here you go, one more time.
And sometimes we step back and we listen to customer feedback, like we did on our recent 30th anniversary edition, where we scaled back the expected supply to assure a great collector experience.
In one sentence, they both omitted their admission of guilt and took credit for the small sale size. Boy, we're in for a rough year.
Now, that decision might not have been great for us in the short term financially, but it was definitely the right call for the long-term health of the brand, and it's good for our fans. Now, we do understand that some players focus on the collectible trading aspects of our product, and we are always thrilled to see players enjoying and valuing our product for years after the initial release.
No shit, it's a TCG, a CCG. It's meant to be traded and collectible. That's why you have randomized booster packs. Why not just make all precons then? Or complete master sets? It is a collectible game. The sets are meant to be completed. That's the whole idea. It's a scavenger hunt to complete your set.
We don't participate in secondary market activity for Magic products, nor do we derive any revenue from trading or selling.
But I'm sure you'd like to.
What we do hear from some of our WPN stores that trade and sell cards after initial sale is that, like any market or any other collectible product, some products and individual cards do become more collectible than others, and values can change over time due to a multitude of external factors, many entirely unrelated to the number of cards printed.
Yeah, of course there's tons of other factors, but the biggest factor is how many are out in the world. And guess what? That's controlled by the reprints.
Now, we have no indication that there has been any broad negative changes to interest in trading or post-purchase selling of Magic products. It could be easy for someone who is unfamiliar with our pre-release sales strategy to draw a negative conclusion about changes in resale values shortly after the release.
What? They hit the market, and then the market decides the value. It's plain and simple. If the market wants the product, the value goes up. If the market doesn't like the product, it goes down. It is as straightforward as it could be.
Yeah, I do think there's a fair amount of misunderstanding about all of this. So thank you for that. And I am scanning through some of the questions I've been getting, but let me just sort of address one that also has come up. Talent acquisition and retention, I know, has been.
Yeah, I was hoping for a proper question too. So from here on out, they just continue to talk about the company and its business portfolio, so to speak. They do go into Dungeons and Dragons and their new Universe Beyond's franchising, movies, all this other crap that I'm not interested myself. If you are, go listen to it. Well, that's pretty much it. So, is it what was expected? Yeah, pretty much. It's a fireside chat. Its whole purpose is to reassure investors and just quell some negative publicity. All in all, we couldn't expect too much from it. I'm glad they did even glancingly mention Magic 30th Anniversary Edition, but it does not bode well for the future. So, again, a few points they really tried to reiterate. Their main desire is to continue to acquire new players through Universe Beyond, all the different franchises that they can tack onto Magic to attract a new player base, like Doctor Who, Lord of the Rings, Transformers, all these different methods to cycle in and out players, and of course their money. They also are more interested in reacquiring old players than keeping the current player base happy, which is a very, very good point to remember, because you are not their focus. You are not cared for. You are the unfortunate middle child in this whole fiasco. Other than that, they are interested in bolstering their direct-to-consumer commerce and, of course, reprinting whatever is needed to shore up supply, as they quote. But in reality, it is to siphon off the value of the secondary market for themselves. At least, that's my opinion. Yep, this has been my Click Notes. Hope you enjoyed. I did it. See you next time.